Hey, that was a bit of Johnny Winter for you. And do you know why we played Johnny Winter? Because my guest here today, Dani Wilde, she has been on the same bill as him. She supported him. Oh wow, what was that like, Dani?
It was amazing, and obviously he's not alive anymore. I think he passed away
No,
in
what a shame.
maybe 2014, something like that.
Yeah.
And I feel just really blessed to have worked with him. But they worked with, been on the bill with him.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, just one. Those are some of the high points of my career when I look back. Are when I've got to meet my heroes, and a lot of them aren't alive anymore
Oh,
because because of when the blues happened.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's a
40s,
few. There's a
50s,
few.
60s. I got to meet some of my great heroes, and he was one of them. So
Well, you've met a lot. Wikipedia is wonderful for this sort of stuff. I've done a bit of research. There's a few names that come up here. I mean, obviously, you mentioned Jules Holland a bit earlier on, so
mhm.
playing with him. So that's a great start. But there's other people in there as well. Derek Trucks, for example, as a top slide player. How did that come about?
Oh, that was, I think this Girls with Guitars tour again. So we did a lot of festivals in America and Canada. And yeah, Susan and Derek were headlining. We were on before them. And we were supposed to be, it meant that when they arrived and they had like two big buses, they were like, they've got
Yeah.
one bus for like, they're a huge band, aren't they? The crew, and then another bus that they travel in, I think with all their kids and family and sometimes
Wow.
grandparents and all sorts as well. So they were, and then we were supposed to get out of the backstage area
Uh-huh.
so that they could get into it. And I think we hadn't quite realised that, so we were being a bit slow about it. And then, and then they showed up. And Derek was really cool actually about the fact that we were quite obviously in their
Invading
backstage
their
space,
space.
and we
Get
weren't
out of
supposed
our
to be
space.
there. But he was quite cool about that, which was lovely.
Oh.
Um, so I haven't worked with them. I've been on the same festival bill, but yeah, it was cool, and obviously we stayed at the festival and watched the Tedeschi Trucks band afterwards, and they were
Right.
amazing. But Susan as well. It was good to see her with Tedeschi Trucks band because I'd not seen her play for years, not since she was at Bishopstock in Exeter, that blues festival back in kind of 99, 2000 kind of time. And that was kind of what got me really into the blues to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, and a few other big names, band names, your Journey and Foreigner as well.
Yeah,
Goodness me! So what?
that
How'd that all come about?
that was in yeah, Norway. Again, Roof Records set that one up, and yeah, it was just really cool. There's been a lot of just random kind of support slots that you get asked to do, and you think, oh wow, yeah, you know.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic! I mean, Journey got Neil Tron, haven't they, on guitar? He's a bit special, I love listening to his sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd have fancied being on the same stage as him. He's a bit good. And another one, Robin Ford as well. Where did
yeah. Oh,
what
that was in
inspiration there?
California. Yeah, that was a while ago now. That was San Diego.
Yeah.
And yeah, I knew I was going to be out there.
Yeah.
At that point, I was actually in a relationship with um, Candy Kane's son. So I was actually having a little holiday out there. But if you're going to be in America doing a holiday, you might as well try and get some gigs. And
Too blinking right.
yeah, I was just emailing around the venues in the area, and ended up opening with Laura Chavez on guitar for me for Robin Ford, which was
Wow.
amazing. And he was obviously
He's a
fantastic.
he's a legend, isn't he? He really
Yeah,
is.
he's got
He's
really
up
big
there.
feet as well. That was I
I don't know
remember
if I
me.
want to go into that
No,
really,
no,
but
definitely no. That's all I've seen is his feet.
yeah, yeah.
But I just remember Laura Chavez and I like watching the show like from the balcony above after we'd opened for him, and just thinking like, oh my god, like his feet like noticeably like notably huge.
Okay, it's
Grew
handy when
up.
you get really drunk because with big feet, it's the center of gravity is at the bottom. You don't fall over as much. So that's probably the best. That's probably the reason why I fall over so often. I've got small feet. That says it all, does it? He worked with Mike Vernon as well. He sort of produced things like Fleetwood Mac, Clapton, and people like that. I mean, he's a big name.
I love Mike.
Did he produce you then? Is that how you?
Yeah, he came out of retirement. Initially, it was going to be to make one record, which was going to be my record. But actually, then he did mine and Ollie Brown's records around the same time. And then he, enjoyed making those and has been out of retirement ever since. So he's made lots more records since then, thank goodness. But yeah, he hadn't made any records for some time. And then, Roof Records approached him, which for me was really exciting because I'd known who Mike Vernon was since I was, a baby, pretty much. I've been a big fan of Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, and just, absolute dream come true working with Mike, and really exciting for my dad as a music fan as well. My dad got to go and pick Mike up from the airport and drive him to the studio, and we were all really starstruck. But he's so down to earth and cool, and so creative, and just lovely to work with. And then I've seen him a few times since he moved. He'd moved out to Spain, so when I've played over in Spain, he's shown up at one of my gigs since then, which has been lovely. But that was the album Shine, so that was 2010 that came out.
Fantastic. I mean, I can imagine him still being old school, so tapes and everything else like that. Is that the case, or is he gone all digital and everything's on a computer now?
No, but he's old school in that now when people say a producer, I think these days when you imagine a producer, you imagine somebody who engineers and produces, because that's what the modern day producer is, somebody who's great at Pro Tools. Whereas Mike is the old school producer in that he will have an engineer who is engineering the session, and his role as producer is to pull in the very best musicians. Even with Fleetwood Mac, it was him who kind of, I think, got Jeremy Spencer and Peter Green together and helped to form the band, and so with my record, it was, similar in that Mike pulled in Pete Wingfield on piano and Roger Innes on bass, and Jamie Little, I think, was on drums for that record, and Stuart Dixon on guitar. And so he just pulled in this lovely, fantastic team of talented people who he knew would work well together. And in the studio, he was very much the MD. He's very, very creative and had that vision for the record, and he's really good at managing people. So he isn't the one sat at the desk engineering. If he wants something done again, he'll tell the engineer to record it for him. But he's just a really creative person who brings out the best in all the musicians.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, that's what you need, isn't it? Somebody, a linchpin in there to say, come on, let's try it this way, or let's try this way. It really does work. You mentioned Ollie Brown. He's a local lad to us. He's from Norfolk as well. Have you worked with him at all?
Yeah. I did a vocal on a track for Ollie. I think it was called Like a Feather. Like a Feather, that's what it was called. It was a while ago now. I've toured a little bit with Ollie. We've not been on the same blues caravan tours that Ruth used to do, but I think I've sat in on one maybe. I think he was doing one with Joanne Shaw Taylor, and when she couldn't make it, I'd flown in, or maybe Area Lieutenant, and I filled in for somebody for a few dates, so I got to tour with him a bit then. And to be honest, he's just somebody who I bump into around the world because we both tour a lot. So I've, he's a friend, and I've seen him at, festivals when we've been in Canada, and we've both happened to be there at the same time, and Spain, and Germany and so on. So.
He's from a place called North Walsham, which is sort of mid-Norfolk sort of way, and most people know him around here. I used to jam with him when he was about 12, so going back. So I always think of him as a little lad, even though he's probably got kids. He's probably a granddad by now. But he's great and always was fantastic, even when he was a kid. He's certainly up there.
He's lovely. He's so talented.
Oh, and, just
and his new stuff as well now, he's really a rock artist, isn't he now? And
isn't he just, yeah.
He's just brilliant. He's so creative, so talented, and he's got a jewellery business as well, isn't he? He's doing all that.
I didn't know that. That's news to me. I've been keep writing to him saying, "Come on the show, Ollie. It's been a while," but I still haven't heard back from him. So I'll have to give him another tap up and tell him that you've told me to get in touch with him. So that will get some clout for him. And one other person I want to speak about is Samantha Fish. You mentioned her as well. So how did you manage to team up with her?
That was again Roof Records, but this was so I've done two. So Roof Records every year do a blues caravan tour, and they'll have three artists, normally newly signed artists to the label, that Thomas Roof, the head of Roof Records, will put on the road together. So I'm with Visitone now, but back when I was on Roof, I did two of these caravan tours. One was right at the start of my career in 2007, and the other one I think was in 2011, 2012. It kind of went over 2 years. And that was called Girls of Guitars. And the lineup for the first year of that was myself, Samantha Fish, and Cassie Taylor. And then the second year of the tour, Cassie had left, and my friend Victoria Smith joined on bass guitar. And I remember meeting Sam for the first time. We all got flown out to Kansas City, which is where she's from. And Mike Zito was there. He was going to be producing the record, and we all got to kind of jam together and choose songs, and we'll hang out at Sam's house, and she took us out for barbecue. I mean, Kansas City is kind of famous for barbecue food. And yeah, she's just lovely. I mean, she's a super lovely person, really hardworking, really talented, and just a pleasure to be around. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think we need to play some Samantha Fish and yourself and Victoria as well. I've got a track here called "Bitch." I like the sound of that. Let's stick that on, and we'll come back after this.
Okay.